Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles, and I welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, the topic is Jalen Rose breaks his silence on the Skip Bayless beef. So that's the topic I want to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, you make sure you check out Dreamerspro Max, our online sports community that we created. Place where you can go and start basketball discussions, chat live during games, and so many other cool things. If you guys are interested in that, be sure to check that out. We have that linked in the description below. And also make sure you go ahead and click the join button to join the channel, to become a member of the channel and receive loyalty badges from our channel. So anyway, let me get into this topic here. So it's been a wild week over the last week right now. This has been the week of kind of hashing up old beefs and opening up old wounds that kind of been closed, right? This is pretty much what's been happening. And a lot of people don't know the backstory to all of this, and then really understand where all of this originated from. Now, if you're into sports, if you're into basketball, and you've been following the NBA over the last 2 to 3 decades, this is nothing new. This is old news to you. You've already been down this road before, but there are a lot of people that are kind of discovering this story right now that's kind of taking place right now. So let me just quickly take you down memory lane for some people that may be late to the party. So this whole debate about labeling goes all the way back about probably over a decade ago to an argument that Skip Bayless and Jalen Rose first had on the show called ESPN First Take. That was originally called ESPN. That was called Cold Pizza, which they ultimately changed to First Take. Now, at the time, Skip Bayless was a staple on that show. Stephen A. Smith, I don't believe, was working at ESPN, and all these other guys were not working at ESPN, but they were guests that they would bring onto the network for different segments, right? But Skip Bayless was the guy, really, that was running the show. And during one of their segments, there was an episode where that was kind of centered on name calling, because I remember, because I saw it live. You're talking a long time ago. And we did a video recently, not too long ago, where I said those old ESPN First Take debates used to be so much more interesting than some of them now. Some people disagreed, some people agreed, but that's what I thought, right? But I remember this. And there was this argument that played out between Skip Bayless and Jalen Rose, which we're not going to play for you guys. The reason we're deciding not to do that is because I'm a firm believer of learning from the past but moving on. I don't believe in staying in the past, harping on what happened in the past. I believe you can look at the past as a way to learn from things that have happened, because in order for you to know where you're going, you got to know where you came from. I understand that entirely, and I understand the whole concept of learning from your lessons, but I don't want to kind of beat a dead horse. I don't want to throw more fuel on the fire of this thing, because to be quite honest with you, from what I've been sort of observing over the last few days, is that this thing is going in a direction that I want no part of, right? I think I enjoyed it for the fact that it was bringing awareness, something we've been talking about for over a year and a half now on our channel, talking about having a balance in sports. We were coming at this from a sports angle, right? Because we're a sports channel. We're not an entertainment channel. We're not a news channel, like a political channel. We're none of those things. We know exactly who we are. We're a sports channel, so we were coming at it from a sports angle, right? We're in our lane. I'm not doing something that I don't know. We're not one of these channels that talks about everything under the sun, right? You're everywhere and nowhere at the same time. So we're not like that. We were coming at this from a sports angle, and I'm beginning to see that it's degenerating into something entirely different, which is something I want no part of at all, right? We don't want to be a part of that. So we're not going to play that old audio. If you guys want to watch that, you guys can go out there and hunt that down. It's on the internet. The argument between Jalen Rose and Skip Bayless. However, my goal is to bring some closure to the issue, right? We're trying to bring some closure to it because we want to move on. We don't want to just stay in this moment in time forever. We want to move on. At least that's my goal here. So basically, they had this spat on TV, and I think it was just yesterday or so, I saw a clip of Jalen Rose kind of going back and taking us behind the scenes to what led to that argument. So before I go too far, I want you guys to take a listen to a short audio of Jalen Rose quickly explaining the art, that beef or that big spat that they had on ESPN First Take over a decade ago. So before I go too far, take a listen to that.
That debate changed the television landscape for a long time. Before I get out of here, let me tell you why. The first day, Skip and I were debating about Russell Westbrook and the type of player that he was. And that's when I acknowledged to Skip how many points he averaged as a junior in high school. Well, this season, Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double for the 4th season. So my debate kind of aged extremely well. Stephen A. wasn't working at ESPN at the time. He was a guest on the show the next day, and they wanted to bring him on so that both of them could take the media aspect of two people that were not former players, and I challenged them on name calling because Skip was calling Chris Bosh Spice. And I was thinking like, okay, so that's offensive. And so I took issue with that. And that's why on Jalen and Jacoby, I retire words. And one of the words that we retire is bust.
Now, in that soundbite, if you listen to what Jalen Rose said, he gave his own perspective. He was like, listen, we understand that so-and-so is not the best player in the world. We get that. But neither was I. But does it mean that I'm a failure in life? I don't think so. I think ultimately that was his message, right? It's like, so just be careful about labeling. I think his biggest point was you can critique a guy, but you don't need to label a guy. Now, it's a bit hard. Why? This is very hard in sports. Some of you say, but why is that hard in sports? Because sports is an emotionally driven thing, right? Sports is all about emotion. Sports is one of the few unifiers in the world. One of the few. You have music and you have sports. You can sit in an arena, people from different walks of life, right? One can be black, Chinese, white, French, whatever you want to call it, and they're all supporting a single team, right? So sports kind of crosses these kind of racial barriers to an extent. In some cases, there's some demarcations within the sports that's invisible. But you get my point. Same thing with music, right? Music is one of these universal things that a lot of people can enjoy, right? It's just the reality of what it is. However, I think the point is to limit the labeling. That was, I think, at the heart of the point that Jalen Rose was trying to make. And let me say this as well, is one of the reasons why we don't use any profanity on our channel. We don't use it at all, right? Because first of all, the first reason we don't use it is because it's totally unnecessary. It is. There's an 8-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old can curse up a storm. But that same 8-year-old or 5-year-old or whatever you want to go, 10-year-old cannot explain his or her ideas to the level of a mature adult that's well read on whatever issue. They can't because their brains are not developed enough. My point is to say this, if we started cursing out here, it says nothing about me. It just says that all I can do is curse. I don't need to explain myself by using profanity. Some people disagree. That is your right. If you don't like it, it's your right. As you disagree is the same way I disagree. It's just that simple. Y'all know, for those of you guys who follow the channel, you guys know that we're very, 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 very pro having your own opinion. If you disagree with us, fine. But I also have the right to disagree with you. No one is going to come and police my thoughts, and because this is the way you see it, I'm going to say absolutely not. That's not the world we live in. We're not going to do this herd mentality kind of. If you believe in one, fine, you have every right to it, and I have every right to believe what I think. Number one, so that's the first reason we don't use profanity. Secondly, once you start using a lot of profanity, I've noticed it leads to name calling. It's the first door that is the door you open up that leads to name calling. In our channel, if you go through our comments, people don't curse because we didn't create an environment for that. We don't curse, they don't curse. So it creates a situation where people can have disagreements with each other, but at the same time, respecting each other. They don't cross the line. And there needs to be room for that. You don't need to agree with somebody, with someone. You can voice your disagreement, but at the same time, you can also respect that person. As I think, as Shannon Sharp said, you can chew gum and walk at the same time. We don't need to. It's like, it has to either be this or it has to either be that. No, you can do both. So we don't want to create a place, an environment that fosters that. There's no need for it. Number one. Number two, there's enough places like that out there on the internet. You don't need another one. The world doesn't need another place like that. So for me, I think the gist of all of this, and this is going to be the last video we produce around this topic, because you know what, we're moving on. The playoffs are on. Some people are wondering, why didn't you produce it? Because the games are kind of spread out. And you know, the last game that we covered, I think, was on Friday. And then there's gonna be a game tonight. So you gotta fill in the space and talk about something interesting instead of just kind of saying the same old thing over and over again. So that's kind of the reason why. Once these games start ramping up tonight, there are gonna be a lot of games. We're gonna get back into the games. But my point is, I'm big on moving on. I'm big on not holding on to things. All of us have different traumas that we go through. But one thing I realized as somebody that's had their own fair share, the longer you hold on to it, the longer you stay in that place. You're aware of it. I'm aware of the effects that it's had on me. These are my personal issues that I have that I don't need to share with anyone. But once I started letting go, I became free. And we're moving forward because this thing is turning into something else. It's turning into something else that I don't want any part of. I'll quickly say this to close. As a Christian, there's a part in the Bible that I take very seriously. And I don't pick and choose passages in the Bible that fit to me and I don't like this one, I'm not going to pick. No. No one is perfect, but I do my best to adhere to a lot of the teachings that they have in there. And there's one part where God says, if somebody does you wrong, if he's correcting it, if he sees you now taking joy in the fact that you see me reprimanding that person, he'll take his wrath from that person and bring it onto you. Because I can fight your battles for you, but don't sit here and enjoy it while I'm taking care of somebody else, while I'm handling your battle for you. Don't enjoy it. Because if you start enjoying it, I'm coming to you. You shouldn't be enjoying it. And I've reached the point where I said, I'm done with this. I'm moving forward. Moving forward. We're going into a next month now. I'm moving forward. And I hope some of you do too. Because there are other things that are going to happen. If you remain in the past, or if you stay in the present all the time, if you stay in the past, rather, you're going to miss what's happening right now. Time is moving forward. Time is moving forward as we go. And I'm moving forward with it. So what I want to know from you guys is, what are your thoughts and opinions on everything that I said in this video? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro. Wishing you guys an amazing day. Catch you guys on the next episode.